Welcome to So We're Watching That Right, a podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same tastes in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
Quick reminder that we have a Patreon now, and it would be great if we get a little help with hosting costs and so on. You can become a member at patreon.com/slimebugproductions, get the chance to help us decide on stuff we're going to cover. If we get enough coming in, we'll be launching some new content at $50 a month. Val is going to prove her world-leading expertise in the isekai genre by updating her tier list of every isekai show ever. And at $100 a month, we will start a segment where we work through every single JoJo's anime in order.
We're not going to watch every single JoJo's anime. We're not going to watch the Stardust Crusaders OVAs, but we'll watch the David production series.
Almost every single, because, there isn't too much anime already.
Yeah.
Starting with Watari-kun's Blank is About to Collapse, episode 11, in which, fair warning, we are going to talk about the politics of sex a bunch. Not going to talk too much about actual sex acts, but before that, we have... Watari continues to be oddly good at being in a relationship for a rom-com anime boy.
Yeah, the problem is we learn some of the hang-ups that he has and why he's got them this episode. So he's just a bigger ball of anxiety than any other protagonist in a relationship I've seen, which is crazy because everything in anime is based on that anxiety.
I mean, it is, but also...
all the drama.
And as somebody who's suffered all my life with anxiety, I don't want to be saying that some people need a bigger helping of anxiety, but... some anime protagonists have the wrong anxieties.
Yeah. This one is, I think, reasonable.
Yeah. Watari is very sensible, and so when Satsuki tries to, lure him into teaching her to swim because she failed her swim test, he says, no, I have to make Yukari my number one. For which Yukari rewards him by acting on her plan to seduce him into having sex with her, luring him to her house at a time where she knows her mom is going to go out, and, very straightforwardly making a move on him. And it's not that he's immune to temptation. He is willing to go there. They talk about it and what happened last time, and Yukari affirms that it is a thing she wants to do. And there's a whole thing about how her mother keeps saying that she's still a child, which is true, but in that condescending way that when parents say it to a teenager, teenagers hate, and Yukari is definitely part of what's going on here is her trying to disprove that by having sex. Not great policy. And so they try to start having sex, and Watari is struggling to undress Yukari, and then the mom comes back unexpectedly early, and they do their best to cover for it, but they do get caught out when Watari knocks over the paper bag that has Yukari's condoms in, and the condoms fall out right in front of the mother. I think at that point the mother thinks the condoms are Watari's.
Yeah.
They are not Watari's. Watari's condom is in his pocket.
Yup, which he did buy, which... you were surprised by.
I mean, I was surprised by it because I would be surprised by any character in a rom-com anime doing that. I was surprised when Yukari bought condoms.
Yeah,
It's a good idea. I am surprised when anime characters have good ideas.
Yeah, that's fair. But also, this did set a precedent, so I'm kind of amused at you being so shocked by Watari following through on it. But he has good reason to, as we find out when he, because he leaves and, just fucking runs on one of the hottest days of the summer so far and fucking passes out in the heat and hallucinates Satsuki saving him while going, don't worry, I won't tell anyone that you were the result of underage sex, and your entire family situation is not gonna come out because you can trust me.
Yeah, so
and then goes, yeah, I'll fuck you, we've got condoms. And then he wakes up to actual Satsuki.
Who is not quite that mean. But yeah, so the backstory turns out to be that Watari's mum got pregnant as a teenager, and there was basically a shotgun wedding, and no, they eloped. That's right. It's not a shotgun wedding. They eloped. And that's why Watari's family, the paternal side of Watari's family, disapprove of him so much. And that's why he and Suzu have been basically orphans.
Yeah.
And why their life has been so precarious. So he has plenty of good reason to be nervous and thoughtful and prepared about underage sex. That's not really the bit of the sex culture stuff here that I want to get into. What I really want to deal with is the fact that they were clearly not going to have very good sex, right? One of the many things that this show is unusually realistic about is it was setting them up to have kind of mediocre sex. And this is a thought that I have been stewing on for a long time now, with steadily growing conviction. I think that we need more bad sex scenes. Not, to be clear, so two things that could mean that I definitely don't mean. One is sex scenes about, like, abusive or harmful sex. There's a place for those. I'm not saying those are bad. It's just not the thing I'm talking about here. The other is the kind of bad sex scenes that get collected on blogs of look at all these bad sex scenes, which there's a whole genre of that. And like that stuff is very funny, usually unintentionally.
Yeah, we're not talking like mimetically bad sex scenes, like poorly made.
Yes. Also, I want to put a marker down on this as well, which is those scenes come in two kinds. And I don't want to just sound like I'm dunking on the so-called romantasy kind of current trend, which is basically a lot of inexperienced writers trying to write about kinks that they don't know very much about, but they've encountered somewhere and it's spoken to them in some way. And I don't really have a problem with that, because having lots of bad writers is how you get some good writers. The comic bad sex scenes that I really want to dunk on are the ones written by, like, old white man lit professors in their horrible self-insert novels about how they think it'd be really good to fuck their students. Which, the standout example of that I know of, and I think this is from a John Updike novel. I meant to go and check, and I can't quickly find the source that I learned this from. There is a scene, I think in a John Updike novel, where the protagonist and his new, much younger wife, they're like on holiday, and she's making eggs, and he jizzes in the eggs, and they eat the eggs with his jizz in. And this is supposed to be sexy.
I mean,
which
that's a kink for someone, but
yeah,
I don't know about that one.
Like it's.
I'm not kink shaming. I'm kink asking why.
Yeah. So that's the other kind of bad sex that I'm not talking about, which is somebody wrote this thinking it was good sex but did a bad job of it. What I think we need more of are scenes in which people have mediocre or uninteresting or disappointing sex, because by all accounts, that's a very common thing in real life.
Yeah.
And yet, I have hardly ever seen, in any work of fiction, especially genre fiction, characters having bad sex. And I feel like until we deal with that, it's going to be impossible for our culture to be normal about sex.
Yeah, it would probably help that along.
Right?
At the very least. Because between, porn that is made to glamorize whatever act, and just, we had great sex being the default in all stories that feature it. Yeah, it's not a great standard to hold yourself to. You're going to be terrible in bed, probably.
It's like the only component of fiction where we still accept, like, a really uncomplicated fantasy of what it's like. Combat in fiction, people expect a degree of like, weight and style to how you write combat, and like politicking and morality around heroic adventure and all that stuff. There are sections of literary culture where you can find people writing stuff that deconstructs and interrogates that. I don't know that exists for sex.
Because we're so fucking weird about it.
Exactly.
This weird, stupid catch-22.
And somehow Watari-kun's Blank is about to collapse is one of the best series about sex that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Like I said when we watched this, that this show is more real about sex than either of the porn shows that we've watched this season.
I think I said that. But someone said it.
Yes. So we we survive this situation with Chastity basically intact, and then Watari is talking to Satsuki, who did really save him from the heat stroke after he had hallucinated her saving him from the heat stroke. And, like, he does need to talk to someone about this. And she is his closest friend. So he talks to her, and he calls her the most convenient person. Like, convenient is the word that the translation used. And that's normally a horrible thing to say. And he realizes that and apologizes, thank God, very quickly, to his credit. But then there's a moment of Satsuki being, like, fine with that and saying so.
Yeah, she is still colossally down bad for him and wants to be of use to him in any way she can.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Satsuki has been disingenuous a lot about Watari, but it didn't feel like there was any disingenuity here. Sorry, disingenuousness. Different things. It felt like she was sincerely happy to hear that he found her convenient or easy to talk to.
Yeah, no, I think, like, I'm kind of being blasé about it, but, like, she really does have, like, a fixation on him for whatever reason that we haven't really gotten into, where, like, she feels like she needs to be in his life to make up for something.
Well, also there's the thing about she feels that he's broken a promise to her and is expecting some sort of payback for that. Anyway, this is almost 15 minutes on this show, and we have to get moving.
Yeah, we're a little slow on this one. We did have, like, the most to talk about with this one.
Yes.
The rest, we're not going to have sex scenes to talk about.
Yes. Although it has to be said that a person in this next show did think that there was going to be a sex scene for us to talk about for a little bit.
So true.
Which brings us to Dealing with Mikadono Sisters is a Breeze, episode 11, which starts with Miwa losing the second match in her shogi series against this girl who's declared her rival, which is very disturbing. And immediately after the match, Yu has an encounter with... Is her name Sakura? I only have her surname down in the notes for some reason.
Yes, it's Sakura, Yatome Sakura.
Yes, who is the character who I kind of actually want to end up with you, because I think that would be funnier,
no,
if I'm honest.
No way, that's... I want all four of them, because I'm an idiot who loves to suffer, and you should be as well.
Anyway, Yu is talking to Yaotome and insists on voicing the most positive possible interpretation of Yaotome's actions. And he's like, thank you for helping Miwa identify her weaknesses, and this is what she needs in order to grow. And also, he goes Bishi mode on her briefly, which absolutely fries her, which is great.
Yeah.
I love fried minefield girl. Absolutely one of my favourite flavours.
Yeah, I know.
You're not a minefield, dear.
I just like hanging out there.
That is true. Anyway, Miwa gets home, and Kazuki and Nico are trying to console her, and she gets mad and storms out. So Yu goes chasing her and finds her, of all places, in a cat cafe, snuggling a cat, which is perfect. And she kind of reveals her core angst, which is that she feels like she doesn't care as much about shogi as the people she's competing against. And she feels that that causes an exploitable weakness in her playing, which Yaotome has found, because she feels that she is only doing shogi because it was the way she found to win the approval and support of her family. And basically this is about you telling her that that's fine. But they hang out at the cat cafe and they talk this over, and she's feeling a bit better, and she's like, okay, we'll go home. And you says, I'm not letting you go home just yet, in his Bishi voice, because he doesn't know when to not step on landmines. So he kind of drags her off, and they're walking, and Miwa realizes that they are walking past a bunch of love hotels, and she is getting ideas, but they're not going to love hotels at all, because it's you. They're going to the supermarket to buy ingredients so that they can make sweets to give to her sisters as an apology for getting mad at them and storming out. And you being you, he takes her to the school to use the school home ec classrooms for the kitchen, and they make these very, very tasty, fancy-looking treats. Yu talks about how the reason he learned to cook and became a good cook was cooking for his mother when she was in the hospital. And he makes the point that it's okay to be good at stuff and to care about stuff because it is for the people you care about. And then he fell asleep, which is entirely an excuse to give Miwa some time to make a little treat for you as well, which is a little marshmallow that she decorates to look like him and then kisses.
Yeah, it's really cute.
And the kiss kind of ruins the decoration.
Yeah, it fucks up the hairline.
It's so cute, though. And she gives the sisters their treats, and she gives you the treat. And oh, God, this show's good.
It's really fucking good. A lot of these things that we're watching this season, I'm just like, I can't fucking wait for the season to be over so I can feel okay rocketing ahead through the rest of the source material.
I'm really looking forward to you rocketing ahead through the rest of the source material, because that's when I get my supply of vowel noises.
In text form, usually.
Yes.
But
well, that way they're preserved.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyway, moving on. Utagoe Mille-Feuille, episode 9, came for me fucking again. So Urin, who is the beatboxer streamer girl, turns out to have a rich and really successful family, and she lives in a fancy apartment that's like a penthouse. And what is revealed is that, you know, she feels overshadowed by the achievements of her older siblings and her parents and so on. And it's made her very faddy. Like, she keeps getting into things and then giving up the moment they get difficult. She's really bad at committing to stuff. Mm-hmm. And she admits that she picked YouTubing because it seemed like the easiest way to get big fast. And look, it's not fair that this character is me for the entirety of my teens and most of my 20s.
I love you.
That's violence. But she is inspired, like, Kumai, the bass, so the other girl in the rhythm section, is working really hard and struggling at being better at a cappella, and this has inspired Ururin to try harder. And I think there's something really true in that about, you know, you can't, if you're only doing stuff in solitude for yourself, you really can't, like, commit to it to the same degree. You have to be prepared to collaborate. Mm-hmm. So thank you for collaborating with me for, like, 10 years on Wednesday, babe.
Yep. You're welcome, hon.
Anyway, then we get more of the relationship between Musubu and Uta, and Musubu is talking about how she's such a perfectionist that she literally destroyed her middle school choir by being too mean to other girls in it who made mistakes, and she kind of feels that she's not right for being in clubs, and she would have quit, except for the fact that her mom told her that she needed to stay in because there were clearly lessons for her to learn, which she says she doesn't understand, but she clearly kind of regards her mom as omniscient and is willing to do what she says. And I think the mom is onto something in this case. You know, it's got to be good for me to say that. Mm-hmm. But there's kind of an acknowledgement that while Uta probably is going to stick with a cappella, Musubu isn't. But they go and they do this school festival performance that they've been asked to do. It goes really well, the energy's really positive, and this time, although Musubu is not satisfied with the quality of the performance, she has fun, and she kind of gets the fun of singing in harmony with people. And Uta says afterwards, I think I saw your true nature, you're kind of a beast. The Japanese word is bakemono, which is monster. It's literally localized in the subs as kind of a beast, which, I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. I really would love to know enough Japanese to know what the actual Japanese idiom was. But Musubu responds to this by saying, okay, but there's an even greater beast in this group. And then it immediately cuts to Rei, who is the other senior, not the president, telling the president that she's going to leave the group. And the president has this thing about how much she dreads change and she dreads being left behind and stuff. So I think what's going to happen is the group is going to fall apart and the president is going to be very sad, and I will be very sad. But I don't know, maybe there'll be some growth there.
Here's hoping.
Do we count April Showers Bring May Flowers episode 11 as demonstrating some growth?
Yes. We have to.
Is growth the word for it, I suppose?
I think Ueno grew.
Maybe. Okay, so they're doing this play, this gender-swapped Snow White, at the school festival. Ueno is Snow White and is incredibly wooden. All his lines have been edited down to just saying now and then. After the first performance, on the lunch break, he helps Tabata reunite a lost child with her parents, and Ueno is much better at acting a femme when helping a child than in the play.
Yeah.
But two of Ueno's co-workers have come to see him perform, and it turns out that they knew Tabata in middle school. And I missed a connection here, I think, but Ueno somehow got the idea that one of them might have dated Tabata.
Well, the whole thing was like, he feels weird that anyone knows Tabata better than him, I think. Especially since he's already acquainted with that person because they're coworkers.
Yeah.
So it's just like, he feels weird that someone might be closer to her than him. And Boy doesn't know what to do with that feeling until the end of the episode.
Yeah, he just disastrously, like, freezes up in the afternoon. No, he freaks out in the middle of the afternoon performance. And something about how that happens makes Iguisidani realize that she has completely lost to Tabata in this, like, imagined romantic battle. And so after school, after the first day of the festival, she confesses to Ueno and kind of admits that she knows he's going to say no and runs off before he can actually respond, and then spends the next day avoiding him about it. And it's her turn to mess up the play. Because she's playing the prince, and they have to kiss, or they have to, like, make it look like they're kissing. And this does not go well. But eventually Ueno does manage to catch up to her, and he thanks her for the confession, which is, like, it's such an authentically awkward, incorrect response. Like, thank you for confessing to me. But he also apologizes for his obliviousness. I've been waiting a long time to hear a rom-com boy apologize for obliviousness. I guess that counts as growth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Iguisidani basically tells him he likes Tabata, but she is still carrying around, like, they were sat next to each other at the entrance exam for the school, and she had forgotten to bring an eraser. He snapped his in half and gave her half, and she's been carrying that half eraser around with her ever since, which is dire.
Girl is
Poor girl.
so cooked.
And then Tabata finds her and is really kind to her, and she breaks out crying because she wishes she could hate Tabata, but Tabata is too nice and clearly deserves Ueno. And then Gotanda materializes and consoles Iguisidani. It's full, like, pantomime stuff, the number of people who, like, come around corners or emerge out of bushes in this scene.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that has to happen at the festival is Ueno and Shinbashi are in this band that they got recruited into, and they have to give their performance, and the song has these lyrics, "We can't stay friends, it's not enough to be friends anymore," and that seems to be the moment at which it finally clicks for Ueno as he's looking at Tabata in the audience while Shinbashi's singing this song.
Yep.
It's like, oh, yeah, we can't stay friends, it's not enough. And I'm dreading that he's going to say it that way to Tabata, because she will not understand if you put it that way.
Yeah, we got 2 episodes left, and both of them are going to be fucking something.
Yeah.
Oh, God, speaking of fucking something...
The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, episode 10, continues to be adorable.
Yeah.
The boys and the girls get together at a restaurant to try to study because they've all got exams coming up. And Kaoruko plays mother to Usami, Rintaro's cat boyfriend, which is adorable. And everybody passes it as a mom thing as well. We get a comparison between the textbook from the fancy school and the textbook from the boys' school, where the textbook from the fancy school is like 2 inches thick, and the textbook from the boys' school, Subaru used as a middle school textbook. We discover that the reason that Saku hasn't been much help to the other boys in terms of studying together is that while he is really smart, he sucks at explaining things.
Yep. and they all try and console him, and he gets really mad and tries to explain things to the girls because he understands their workbooks, and poor boy.
Anyway, it works because they all pass the exam. And almost all the class pass the exam, except for a couple of them. So they're going out to celebrate, and Rintaro suggests bowling, and they go bowling. And as that's happening, he realizes that since the sports festival, the class has really kind of come together, which is nice. That's just a really nice detail to have the observation of in the middle of it. And then Usami and Rintaro are at the back of the group as they're walking to the bowling place. They see the girls on the other side of the road. Usami almost, like, calls out and waves to them, but gets smothered in time. But Rintaro then spaces out staring after Kaoruko. So Usami outright asks him if he's dating Kaoruko, and when he denies that, says, "But you do like her, right?" Which he also can't cope with. And he asks, at the bowling, he's stewing on this, and he asks Akira... I guess he goes to Akira because Akira is, like, the one who, I don't know, like, seems softest.
He seems softest, and also he was there while he was stewing.
Yeah.
Because they're on the same...
So Rintaro asks him, like, what does it mean to date someone? I don't know that I've ever been in love. And Akira's like, I can't help you, buddy. Just don't ask any of the other lads that, because they'll murder you.
They'll murder you after they get the word out of you.
Yes. And then the episode ends on a text from Subaru to Rintaro. And the anime plays so coy with revealing what the text is, because Subaru texting Rintaro, you would expect bad news. And it really plays it like it's going to be horrifying, terrible news of some sort.
For like 2 seconds.
It's longer than that!
It's like 2 seconds, I promise.
I was suffering, therefore it is longer than that! But no, what it actually is Subaru letting Rintaro know that Kaoruko's birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Which, I'm so full of joy.
Yeah, it's gonna be really...
It's perfect.
It's really good. Before we move on to the next one, I do want to say The Fragrant Flower Blooms to Dignity is on Netflix now in English. You don't have to do any VPN bullshit. They've got a dub. It's pretty good. It's going to be several episodes behind. There's only 3 episodes up as of recording compared to the 11 that would be if it was airing on time. But, Netflix.
Right, on to Secrets of the Silent Witch, episode 10, in which we get to see what Monika was like when she was actually in school, where she had one friend called Bernie who helped her a bunch with her studies and stuff. And then Monika was tricked, bullied into going to the Seven Sages selection. And Bernie only cared about one thing ultimately, which was becoming one of the Seven Sages. Monika got dragooned into the Seven Sages. Bernie got super mad at her and yelled at her. So she's now really afraid of Bernie and worried about seeing Bernie again. But Monika has been placed on the chess team because, of course, she's really good at chess. She has the autism. And for a while, they talk about making her captain of the chess team, even. She manages to wriggle her way out of that one.
Yeah.
But the chess tournament that's coming up is against 2 schools, one of which Bernie attends.
Yep.
And they give Monika a makeover. Monika's friends give her a makeover to try to make her less recognizable to Bernie, which so perfectly resembles the rom-com moment where the shy, plain girl takes off her glasses and lets her hair down and is suddenly beautiful. And yet somehow there was no rom-com nonsense around it. Ashley and the prince never really even
comment on it
or react to it in any way. They did kind of make her Eve bait.
Yeah.
Which is good, because there needs to be some revenge against Eve for things that are coming up later this episode. Join our Discord to see the shenanigans.
Yep.
But eventually Bernie, who is not really fooled by this makeover for very long, corners Monika and is trying to get her to acknowledge that she knows him. And Monika's cat familiar and the bird familiar of the other Seven Sage who is involved in the shenanigans show up disguised as attractive young human men.
Yep.
And declare themselves to be in a throuple.
Yeah.
With Monika to kind of get Bernie to back off.
Yeah, it briefly turns into a romantasy book. Because apparently there's some stuff going on in this bird's brain. She's really fond of those fucking books, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anyway, that was a show about a good girl. This is a show about a bad girl, episode 11, which starts with resolving the situation from the last episode where Suzu is covered in dakis of Atari, and Atari sees this and is disappointed to learn that the dakis aren't Suzu's. They have to, hang out of the way somewhere, so they end up playing Wii Mario Party on Yu's suggestion, because Yu thinks that if they play Mario Party, she will have lots of excuses to, accidentally bump into Atari. And instead, Atari flings herself at Suzu at every possible opportunity.
Yeah.
Suzu loses a bunch and gets subjected to the most undignified set of forfeits imaginable. It doesn't really do a montage of them or anything, but the last shot is her in a collar and cat ears and a maid outfit and handcuffs.
Here's the funniest thing. She's not in a collar. It's Atari. Who gets put in a collar? She was just in shackles. She had
just. Anyway, she finally wins one over Atari and puts all the clobber on Atari instead, and you just straight up dies.
Yep. Heart stopped.
Show over, the bad girl has died.
There's literally the end gag.
Yeah. And then in the second half of the episode, it cuts to Ruha on a camping trip doing like an influencer camping bit and slowly realizing that she has been cursed to a terrible crush on you.
Yeah.
She finds you and Mizuka have dragged all 10 of their Ataridakis out into the woods to like roll around in the grass with them. And then they go on a drug bender?
Yeah.
Like
they start huffing Atari essence.
or whatever. Like, Japan is so weird and like hardline about drugs that I am stunned and baffled that this bit is in here. Because it is just like they go on a drug bender. The next day, Ruha is up in a tree, stuck, with her butt in jeans protruding in a very Val-pleasing sort of a way.
Shut the fuck up.
Am I wrong?
You didn't need to put it like that.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. Shut up.
I am about to get so fucking clowned. I've got to get my shots in first, because past two shows from now, I'm going to be inconsolable. Anyway, then Ruha decides that the best way for them to get unlost is for them to climb a mountain. Don't do this, because then, like, you're going to get lost on the way back down the mountain anyway, regardless of what you can see from up there. But Yu gets thirsty, and so Ruha lends her her water bottle, and then realizes this means they will have an indirect kiss, which she's very normal about. But they do get home safely. They get surrounded by animals, and Mizuka, for some reason, can talk to animals, and the animals guide them home.
Yep.
And it turns out that a clip from the night of the drug-fueled bender has become Ruha's first viral clip.
Yep. Or poor little girl. Jesus Christ.
Like, on some level, she definitely deserves it. But also,
yep.
Nobody deserves being in love with Yutani Yu.
As someone who is equally prone to doing dumb
shit. You deserve everybody being in love with you, which is far funnier.
Shut the fuck up.
Let's talk about My Dress Up Darling, episode 11. So, we get some of Akira's backstory here, where when she started middle school, her mother threw out all her manga and banned her from ever owning manga, which I feel like doing that at middle school age is absurdly cruel.
Yeah.
Anyway, her way back into, like, otaku culture was she saw a couple of schoolgirls pull a rare reward from a gachapon machine, and she thought, oh, I'll just pull one. It'll be fine. I'm an adult now. Nobody's breathing down my neck. And as she was doing that, she was spotted by two girls from her college class who turn out to be the two older cosplayers who've been running this coffin group. We also get Juju, who has been really self-conscious, and so Juju only cosplays magical girl characters. And it turns out that the reason for that is that she feels that her face and her body type and so on limit her to only very girlified girl characters. And so the older cosplayers do a bunch of work with her to show her how makeup can be used to change her face shape, and you can equip boobs and a corset, and you can learn to stand and photograph yourself so that you look taller as necessary. Mm-hmm. The other really important thing is that Juju has been assuming that she would have to give cosplay up as she grew up, and this is her first time interacting with older cosplayers. And there's a great sequence where they're like, yeah, you don't have to give up cosplay when you grow up. In fact, it gets easier because you can have more control over your money. And also, we know some much older cosplayers. There's this 40-year-old woman and that we know who always cosplays idols, and there's this old man who cosplays Toku heroes, mm-hmm. which is great.
Yeah.
Just fully love that. This show rules.
Yeah. I have been in parts of my life where I'm I'm probably going to have to give up my hobbies at some point for one reason or another. Fuck no. Mm-hmm. Look at me now. Several girlfriends, and they all love that I'm a giant fucking weeb. For some reason.
Anyway, there's a lovely scene of Akira, working with Gojo to make some of the props for the cosplay and, encouraging him to take it more of an interest in prop making and generally being really supportive. Which is then set against Marin saying that she's realized that Akira doesn't like her, and, we're clearly going to have to get to the bottom of that, mm-hmm. because it is looming over the end of this season. But yeah, the tension is still bubbling along. Right.
Speaking of the tension.
45 minutes in. No more stalling. We have to talk about There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover unless episode 11, which we only watched like an hour ago.
It's so fucking good.
I'm so sad.
Yeah.
I'm like actually sad.
Yeah.
About this goofy, over-the-top comedy. It's... I will give this episode props for, like, the bit where Mai reveals that she's brought, like, an entire cloakroom full of kimonos for them to choose from to go to the festival together, and the kimonos come along with Mai's maid, who has started to really hate Reneko, which turns out to be because she's a Mai Satsuki shipper, and she thinks Reneko is ruining her ship, which I have news for her about enemies to lovers. But, like, Reneko and Ajisai together are such a lovely pairing, and so gentle and caring, and there's still shenanigans like the boob feeling in the previous episode, but it really feels like there's a deep emotional compatibility there, by contrast with Satsuki, who is not emotionally compatible with anyone because she's not emotional, and Mai, who is not emotionally compatible with Rena because she's a psychopath. And Mai shows up and they spend the day going around this town that Ajisai used to kind of live in as a child, and there's a really cute scene at an old-fashioned candy shop, and then they go to the festival, and Mai ruins everything by revealing to Ajisai that she is romantically in love with Reneko, which leads to Ajisai basically deciding to martyr herself for the sake of Mai and Reneko's relationship, which Reneko doesn't even want.
Yep.
And this arc started with a scene of Reneko and Ajisai on the train, and Ajisai confessing to Reneko while she's asleep. And it ends with another confession that Reneko doesn't actually get to hear. And I am sad and angry and want to destroy things from orbit, laser rocks, etc.
Yeah, it's really... Having read a bit of the light novel, I've caught up till before today's episode. It's really, like... There are a lot of things that this show is not adapting that would have added something very nice. But what it does have is just, like, really, really, really cute. And I'm mostly just lamenting the things that doesn't adapt because, as a whole, I think they're really something special, and it's just the perils of adaptation when you're trying to cram multiple volumes in.
Is Mai supposed to be a dipshit or, like, Machiavellian? Because
no,
feels to me like
she is used to having the goddess of luck on her side and everything going her way.
Yeah, because my reaction to her increasingly, and I mean my like immediate emotional reaction, not my considered reaction to her, is increasingly, this is an evil, manipulative bitch, and I want her out of Reneko's life.
Yeah, I'm not fond of her either, to be clear, but like, she's definitely like, she needs to be put more in her place, because, like, as much as she, like, realized she was doing something wrong in, like, the light novels and, like, mostly backed off, yeah, I don't know. I'm still really not fond of her.
Well, we'll see how it wraps up in the anime, and then you can tell me how it wraps up in the books.
Wraps up, haha, it's not over. There's another one coming out at Christmas.
Anyway, then there's episode 10 of The Summer Hikaru Died, which starts with Yoshiki having to force not Hikaru's head back onto his neck. And we get some, like, really sinister hints about the character I've been calling the paranormal investigator and like, the company that he works for, which has come up before in the background.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it much.
But mostly, this episode is like a series of genuinely horrifying lore reveals. Like, just whoa moments. Starting with people have apparently found a bunch of bones all over the villages, and they are sorted geographically to match the locations on the body that those villages correspond to.
Yup.
Which is creepy enough. And the only place where they haven't found bones is Kubitachi, the neck village, which is the one that Yoshiki lives in. At which point Yoshiki realizes that all the monsters that have attacked him have had something wrong with their necks, which was a cool payoff. it turns out that the history of the place involves them at a time of famine, creating an abortifacient drug from mercury mined from the Forbidden Mountain, which is genuinely horrifying. Like, deliberately and knowingly administering mercury as an abortifacient, as a method of population control, is a harrowing, harrowing concept. And then they go to the shrine that Hikaru's family have kept for their, like, secret atonement thing that they have to do. And it's full of heads.
Mm-hmm.
They're wooden heads, but it turns out that they represent real human heads of people who were killed in order to keep this tradition going. Which I suggest is fucking bleak.
Yeah, a little bit.
2 episodes of that one left, or maybe 3.
There are 2.
Right. Brief mentions. Turkey Time to Strike, episode 10, update. They return to their own time. History appears unchanged. They can tell this because they run into Nozomi's ex, and he has exactly the kind of reaction that he would normally have to her. And they realize that the reason the future hasn't changed is because something horrible happened in the past, which is the ultimate expression of this motif of, in bowling, there's always a second throw. You can just travel back in time to the same time again. But they are persuaded to train up properly first, and so they spend a year training and preparing, and then they jump back in time again to the exact moment of the horrible stuff happening, and they have found a variety of ways to equip themselves for disrupting a medieval execution. Me showing you the screenshot will not be good radio, and me attempting to describe the screenshot will not be good radio, so I'm not going to try, but this episode ends on a screenshot of the 5 bowling club girls decked out as best they can for battle as they arrive in the past to rescue the people who need rescuing.
Incredible.
It's great. I love this show so much. In Detectives These Days Are Crazy, episode 11, this episode was entirely given to a mystery village story. Mashiro spent the whole time beefing with the local shaman, who's this massive butch woman. Meanwhile, there's this cult in the village. They've been recruited to save a guy's wife who is going to be murdered by the cult, but Nagamo figures out that the cult leader is actually a doctor who has used the pretense of a cult to infiltrate this isolated village because they won't trust medicine, but they will trust the supernatural. And he's gotten in to treat a disease that has struck the village, which all sounds very noble, but he reveals at the end that he was basically motivated because he saw the wife and she's got really big boobs, and he wanted to save the boobs.
Mm-hmm.
Which, every man in the episode had this same reaction to this poor woman, including Nagamo, which gave Mashiro a lot of opportunities to just go, oh, man, I swear, which is very good.
Mm.
In With You in the Rain, episode 11, we pretty much jump immediately to the end of production on the film that Fuji was recruited to do the script for. It's a big success. Fuji does not want to go to the reception after the test screening, so her friends drag her for a flower viewing, cherry blossom viewing picnic instead. And then the rest of the episode is Fuji doing a spring clear out of her flat. Her hot friend can't imagine throwing stuff out, and as a pack rat myself, I feel called out by that.
I love your characterization as her hot friend. They're both hot.
She's got a hot friend and a cute friend. Who is also hot, but is more cute style hot than hot style hot.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Am I just talking about the fact that one of them is 6 inches taller than the other? Maybe, sure. But Fuji is throwing out a bunch of clothes. The cute friend takes a pair of scissors to them and makes an entire cute new outfit out of, salvaged clothing. There's a shirt that Fuji is about to throw out, and the Tanuki, interrupts her because he remembers that it's the shirt she was wearing the day she found him, and he really doesn't want it to get let go, and Fuji eventually capitulates to that. There was a whole thing going on with, bee-related brainwashing.
Yeah.
Fuji had a book about bees, and she was trying to get her friends to read the book about bees, and one of the friends read the book about bees and then got really weird about bees.
Yeah.
But it ends with Fuji making a weird cat plushie for the Tanuki, I think out of that shirt.
Yeah, that was the point of the...
Which is very cute.
Yeah.
In Apocalypse Spring and Mynoghra, episode 11, Mynoghra is under attack from the RPG game invaders. Takuto is very confident because he has the best strategy. The best strategy is give all the mana to Mama, the bug mom, and power her up so that she can implant eggs in monsters, and the larva will feed on the monsters and make more. So we get Bug Mom's Billion Bug Babies attack. She has a long duel with the second of the RPG mid-boss characters. But at the end of the episode, he plays some sort of trick that teleports Takuto's attendants to the battlefield, these two young girls that he's been particularly protecting and caring for, which has horrible implications for how the anime is going to end. In Cultural Exchange with the Game Center Girl, episode 10, it's a fighting game tournament arc in which Lily's participation ends in the first round because she's up against Aoi, and Aoi says Lily wouldn't want me to go easy on her and takes her out in straight sets. But Karen is competing and she goes all the way. The college girl who started working at the game center and is Lily's rival for Renji is competing and somehow is already really, really good. There's a bunch of kooky regulars from the local FGC scene, all of whom think they are unbeatable geniuses and all get beaten in one or another comical way.
Yeah.
Karen is really only playing for the chance to have a showdown against Renji in which he easily beats her because, of course.
This is also the episode that made me go, oh god, if we watch Young Ladies Don't Play Fighting Games, I'm going to have to explain a shit ton of things to you.
Yeah, there was some big Tekken reference.
Incorrect!
Right, you see the problem. Street Fighter?
Yes, it was Akuma from Street Fighter doing the Raging Demon. Akuma is in Tekken, but it's not a Tekken thing.
That's why it confused me. I was going, Akuma's in Tekken, right?
You tried a little too hard and missed the shot because of it. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's move on to talk about some older shows that we watched. So we watched episodes 10 to 12 of Ascendance of Bookworm, in which the devouring, this disease that comes from having magic but not being a noble, is really catching up to Mine. She gets saved temporarily by kind of the generosity of Frida and the Guildmaster, but we learn that Frida also has the devouring, and she's only been saved by making a contract to become a noble's concubine when she comes of age, which is grim when we're talking about a 6-year-old girl. Mine actually decides that she's going to die with her family rather than become the property of a noble, which, they play up the tragedy pretty hard here. Mine and Lutz go to their baptism, and their families do a really good job of making them look well turned out for the ceremony. And they're the last two to go into the church, and they're holding hands. And one of the other moms comments, "Oh, it looks like they're going to a little wedding." And Mine's dad gets super mad.
Yeah.
But Mine passes out during the ceremony, not because of the devouring, but because she's laughing too hard at the prayer pose that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And she's kind of left alone to recover in this room and leaves to explore the temple to find her way back to the ceremony, and instead finds the church's library and immediately decides that because this church has books, she's going to become a cleric. And she looked so pretty that the clerics assumed that she was from a rich family, so they were trying to get her to bribe them to let her in. She casually offered one large gold coin, which is 10 million units of the currency, which is daft.
Yeah, well,
that currency stuff still.
Well, yeah, it's kind of. So the thing is, with this stuff, it's always helpful to remember that often you and I are probably thinking of the scale of currency a little differently because our smallest denominations are lower than 1.
True.
So this would be more 100,000 yen,
which is still a fucking lot of money.
Which is still a lot of money, but it's a little more sane.
I suppose. I guess if you think about it as it's 10 million yen.
10 million yen, $100,000.
Yeah.
You need some sort of denomination or else it gets hard to transport.
Yeah.
Especially in an era without, paper money and, advanced banking. Also, we'll find out the reason why the donation came up later this week. Also, the specific reason she was laughing at the prayer stuff is because it reminded her of the Glico Running Man, which is a landmark in Osaka, which is shining over the Dotonbori Canal. Yeah, imagine just your prayer pose is standing like the Statue of Liberty or something.
Yeah.
It is that level of like, what the fuck are you doing holding this as a prayer pose? And also, it's just a goofy pose.
It is very funny.
Yeah.
She falls over the second time she tries it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in Scrap Princess episodes 2 to 3, we're starting to get a sense of what this show is, which is this boy called Leo shows up, and he's a knight errant who is trying to prove himself, and they're being menaced by bandits, and he shows up and is like, I'm going to save you from the bandits, and he charges on his horse, and the horse doesn't stop when he reaches them. It just goes straight past.
Mm-hmm.
And also he can't swim, so Pacifica decides she's going to teach him to swim, whereupon they are ambushed by a giant frog, and a mysterious purple girl shows up to say, it's a dragon.
She's more blue. I will fight about this.
She's wearing purple.
Yeah, fine.
She's purple-coded,
But
but not purple-coded. Fine semantic distinctions here.
We haven't seen enough of her to say whether she's purple or purple-coded.
Yeah. I mean, we've also we've seen 3 of her already, 3 different purple girls.
Mm-hmm.
They banish the giant frog that is not actually a giant frog. So that's half of the tone, is the goofy stuff. And the other half of the tone is meeting very sad, serious people who get involved in situations that make them sad. So there's this old knight, Doyle, who is very sad and has abandoned being a knight because he is the guy who was ordered to kill Pacifica and couldn't do it. He's the reason she's still alive, and he left the Knight Order in disgrace, basically. At the next town, they stay at an inn where there's the niece of the innkeeper whose parents are dead, and she's very, very sad and reserved, and Pacifica adopts her, basically, and they spend a day in town exploring the place and finding work as promoters for a bakery that is trying to launch a new mascot character that's kind of hideous, except that Raquel thinks it's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
And Pacifica and then Leo have to wear the mascot costume. But what they end up doing to pay their way is they help out at the inn. And there is a brief scene of Shannon, the older brother, making one of the beds. And for some reason, that specific scene is one of my clearest memories from when I first watched this show 18 years ago. I remember more about that than I do about any of the big twists that are coming up.
Yeah.
But the horrible thing that happens is that Chris, the sinister knight that's stalking them and kind of comes and goes ominously, kidnaps Winnie in order to draw out Pacifica and her siblings, which will be the thing that is dealt with next episode.
Yeah.
In The Wise Man's Grandchild, episodes 3 to 4, Shin is forced to form his own study group, which is basically like a club at the magic school. When this idea is first floated, his immediate friends are all like, yeah, I'd join your club in a heartbeat. He doesn't want to form a club, but someone says of him and Sicilian, the love interest, if you're going to be taking her home, then you might as well do extracurriculars together, which is meant without any innuendo in context, but it's just a very funny line to be able to pull out and say, this is a thing that happened.
Yeah.
They float the idea of making a fan club for Grandpa and Grandma, but it turns out they can't do that because the school already has a fan club for them.
Yep.
So they form an advanced magic study group. But then they are attacked by Kurt, who it turns out was not just an asshole, but was cursed. And because, as promised, this anime has a bit more teeth than many kind of cozy, overpowered isekai shows, Shin outright kills him.
Yep.
It's the only way to defeat him. This is apparently only the second time a demonoid has ever been killed, so they make a big fuss out of Shin doing this. He gets a medal. But he has already figured out that Kurt isn't a typical demonoid. It must have been the result of an experiment, and he figures out who must have done the experimenting, and they have a duel, and Shin pulls out the, giant sun lens spell to generate a sort of orbital laser effect to take down the guy who barely escapes, and I'm sure will be back.
Yep.
But it's all good dramatic stuff interwoven with Shin just really not having a clue what's going on.
Well, he has a clue what's going on, but not socially, which is an important distinction.
Not socially or politically.
Yeah.
In Kimi ni Todoke, episodes 20 to 21, we get Chizu going through the experience that I'm having with Watanabe. in that her heart has been broken and she's moping about it, and she's mad at Ryu for trying to protect her from the truth by, like, he did explicitly scheme to try to avoid her coming round at a time when she would encounter his older brother with his fiancée.
Yeah.
And she's mad at him for what she says is trying to protect her from the truth. Yano and Sawako get very worried that they aren't able to help Chizu feel better, but Kazuhaya reassures them because he's an angel. Eventually, they aren't able to induce Chizu to express her feelings, which leads to Yano having the incredible line, she's moping. She's actually doing it. I'm so happy. But she did need some emotional catharsis, to be sure. And then Ryu summons his brother back to have a heart-to-heart with Chizu, which turns into this really weird conversation where he honestly quite self-indulgently rambles about his memory of Chizu as a younger child. Mm-hmm. And he's constantly treating her like a little sister, which she gets mad at first, but eventually she kind of caves into it. And she does tell him that she was in love with him, and he, plays it cool or pretends not to understand or doesn't fully understand and goes off, and Chizu goes to do more moping, and she's sitting on the dockside in midwinter in her school uniform with bare legs under a skirt, and she must be hypothermic because it's snowing. But then Ryu finds her and they have a brief talk, and she finally kind of lets it all out and ends up sobbing on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. And it's so sweet. And I'm so glad that we can get to that point. And I hope it leads to more stuff of those two, because I love them.
Yeah. I believe there's more stuff of those two, but we still have a second and third season to get to.
Yes. And finally, 3 more episodes of PatLabor the TV. So Tara and I watched these episodes on 9/11 last Thursday. And one of the things that is really worthwhile about watching PatLabor, and I've talked about this before, but I think only in our pilot sequence, is the time capsule effect of it, because it is a very politically conscious show. Or it's in tension with the politics of its time, which are now 35 years ago. And some things have really changed, particularly in kind of law enforcement and tech and terrorism. So a recurring group in the setting is, they're called the Heart of the Sea. They're eco-terrorists. And the first 2 of these episodes, 41 and 42, are both slapstick incompetent eco-terrorist plots where people with very half-baked schemes do various forms of infrastructural damage and reckless endangerment, and it's played almost entirely for laughs. In the first one, half a building even gets collapsed, like a big hotel building. It is kind of jarring to watch, but it's also really valuable to remember that, this was an attitude in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And these episodes would be horrifically controversial if they aired today as new. But it's not all darkness and seriousness, because the third episode we watched is there's a recurring character who's a telejournalist, and she comes to the PatLabor unit to do a kind of day in the life spotlight episode about Noah, who's the main character. Mm-hmm. And it's extremely goofy. I can't remember why, but here's another way in which the time capsule effect is useful. This episode would have aired in 1990. There is a line, the Americans pick presidents just because they're good on TV, which presumably is mostly in reference to Ronald Reagan at that point. But these days you pick presidents who aren't even good on TV, but get the ratings. Anyway, the journalist gets snatched as a hostage during a crisis to which PatLabor are deployed, and he's grabbed her in the hand of his mech and he's squeezing her, and she's yelling at him, and they get into a really silly argument that just continues constantly through the background of all the scenes of the PatLabor unit trying to figure out what to do. And Noah saves the day, for once without causing any collateral damage. So everything goes perfectly. The TV crew have been really hoping that they get some bad collateral damage for spectacle's sake. This one time they don't. So the program is going to turn out really well, and then all the unit tune in to watch it, and the show has been cancelled that week in favor of the baseball playoffs. It's just when this show goes pure comedy, it's such good comedy. Anyway, So We're Watching That Writers project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Bluesky at slimebug.bsky.social, YouTube at youtube.com/slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/slimebugproductions. Download all episodes from Libsyn at slimebug.pro and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.